Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to Drink the Video Games. I am Brian, and I've got a refill on my coffee here, and my Drink the Movies coffee mug. You can get one of those on our merchandise shop if you want. Link down in the description. But I am back to play Her Story, which has been really fun. It's incredible. Like, this thing just washes over you. Like, I totally see the appeal of it here. It's awesome. And Viva Seifert's amazing. She's really good in there. If you watch through the first one, you saw me kind of getting a grips on what we've got going on here a little bit, trying to make some heads or tails of things. We got a couple of things stored in our session down here, basically of, this one's more or less kind of a confessional kind of a thing. We've got these two here where she's talking about heading up to Glasgow to basically secure herself an alibi, the hospital, and hit a car and stuff like that. So we're carrying on. There's talk of miscarriage in one of the clips, so that was what I was going to be looking up next. So let's go ahead and put that one in and see. So there's the clip that we had watched previously. We got a couple of new ones here though, so let's check those out. And it looks like these come from different days. There are a couple different outfits. So
then my parents died. It was the worst year of my life. A miscarriage, and then my parents.
Yeah, that seems not great. Okay, parents died, miscarriage, okay, that's terrible.
They'd gone to bed feeling ill, thinking it was flu or something. The neighbour called me, I had to use my key to let them in. We found them dead in their bed. And they'd been there for days, no one had noticed. Just awful. It was so soon after my miscarriage. The worst year of my life. I'd been so happy to get married, and after that it was just like, fuck.
Yeah, I could see that. Let's go ahead, we'll put in a neighbor there for that one. And see if that turns anything up about either her parents dying or potentially anything else, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I was infertile. Thought I was. They told me I was infertile after the miscarriage because of complications.
Okay. Take a look at that as well. Alright.
Hannah had a miscarriage. This was late in the pregnancy and it left her infertile.
Wait, what?
Felt like the universe had corrected its course.
She just referred to Hannah as being someone else.
But Hannah and Simon were still living with his parents. They were married. Simon had a job at the Glaziers now. Eric had given him a full-time position after he left school. And then Interesting. Okay. More on that. Let's see. So, let's go with that there. See if that turns anything else up. Okay, we got one new one here. So this is the same lady that was talking about Hannah in the third person, who's also down here making a confession. What? I think it was that time, the first time at the house, in his bed, that I got pregnant. Amazing, right? This fucking magic sperm. And they say lightning doesn't strike twice. I didn't tell him. I missed 3 periods. I had pretty irregular periods anyway, but 3. I had always thought we were infertile. Both of us. I didn't tell him. Just waited. Hannah and I were meeting for our birthday, and I told her because I thought she would be happy for us both. I think she was.
Interesting. Okay. Birthday. She mentioned Hannah Both of us is that. Okay, okay.
You want me to play something? I'm not the world's greatest guitar player. Okay. Probably needs tuning. No. It's okay. How about a traditional ballad? Should be right up your street.
Let's do it.
Sisters came walking by the sea. Oh, the wind and the rain. The eldest one pushed the other one in. Oh, the dreadful wind and rain. See, they both had a love for the captain's son. Oh, the wind and the rain, but he only cared for the youngest one. Oh, the dreadful wind. Oh, the eldest envied her sister fair. Oh, the wind and the rain, with a pretty little face and her long blonde hair. Oh, the dreadful wind and rain. So she pushed her in and held her down. Oh, the wind and the rain watched her as she slowly drowned. Oh, the dreadful wind and rain. Oh, she floated up and she floated down. Oh, the wind and the rain floated till a ship came by. Oh, the dreadful wind and rain. Out comes the captain's son. Oh, the wind and the rain. Father dear, here swims and swan. Oh, the dreadful wind and rain. And then it gets really weird, so I think that's a good place to stop.
And then it gets really weird. Alright, well. Okay, what do we got there? The wind and the rain. Another accomplishment. That's good, that's good. Okay, so so that song, it talks about two sisters. It talks about one drowning the other, which she mentioned in the first episode here. About she almost did that, but I don't know if that was Hannah. I don't know if that was her sister, because it seems very apparent now that these two are twins. So I'm gonna put in ballad here for that one, so I remember that. And let's go through these, and then we'll type in twin and see if that turns up anything different.
When she went home, Simon had a birthday tea waiting. Afterwards, she told Simon about me, told him I was pregnant. She wanted me to move in with them, this sister he didn't know she had. She knew that instant. The look on his face.
Okay, so this is apparently Hannah's sister. Told Simon about her, okay.
She sent him out the house, kicked him out, called me up, crying, and I went round. I guess I had a feeling I could hear something was wrong in her voice, but I wasn't sure what it was. She called me sister on the phone. She never calls me that.
Okay. Interesting.
My sister is gone. And she's never coming back.
That's a really weird smile. Putting that in there at the note. What? Look at this. Look at her.
My sister is gone. And she's never coming back.
That is some devious stuff. Alright, let's put in twin. See if that turns anything up. Oh yeah, a bunch of stuff. There we go.
Twins? Really? Are you really asking me that question?
Okay.
Are you out of your mind? Twins? Florence took me home with her. Mother hadn't been expecting twins and had a healthy baby. I guess she was just happy for Florence to clean up.
Who's Florence?
Take away the evidence that this was anything but a happy occasion. There were always princes and princesses. They were the special people, more important than the other characters in their stories. We knew we were like that. Twins. Magical. We were the princesses. We had a poster of Princess Diana from the newspaper up in our attic. Had a pride of place. And underneath we used to put all our special things. When her engagement was announced, we were obsessed with everything she did. And later, when her life went so bad, we felt for her. Her divorce last year just kind of drew a line under things.
Okay, so she's mentioned Princess Diana and also the attic. I'll come back to that because we've talked about the basement in the house and now the attic. And I don't know if that's the same house, if they're still living with the parents. But that's interesting because you've got on one hand one of these women talking about her sister and twins, and the other one, kind of laughing that off. So is it a really twin? Is it a personality thing? What is happening? Let's take a look at Florence and see who that is. Yeah, there was the one that we saw. Okay, these are all the same. Same interview.
Across the road, where my parents first lived there, was a midwife called Florence. When Hannah was born, I was born at the same time. The midwife was there to help. I'd been throttled by the cord, probably wrapped around my neck by Hannah. The midwife told my mother I was dead. But I wasn't. She wrote all this stuff in a diary.
Okay.
Amazing what people will admit to on paper.
Alright. Diary, let's come back to that. Okay.
Florence raised me in her home. I never left it. She kept me out of sight. It wasn't odd for people to see a midwife with a baby, carrying in supplies, washing nappies, that sort of thing. I never knew any different. I grew up looking out of my window and seeing her across the road. I thought it was like a reflection in the mirror. She was me.
Interesting. Okay. So I think Neighbors was where I first kind of got onto this line. A minute 24. Okay, this is a longer one here. Let's check it out.
Florence was a warm, kind person. But she was broken, I guess. When I found her diary, I also found a biscuit tin with other stuff in it. Older papers, letters, that kind of thing. Her story wasn't there.
Her story.
I never really spoke to her about it. I was far too young to really understand, I guess. I just put it together later, once I was older. She had loved children, planned to have a large family, but her husband died in the war. And that was back when you married for life. She never felt like she could marry again. Isn't that strange? She was a widow from her 20s. But, I mean, I guess it was different then. You know, you married for life and she felt she could never marry again. I guess it was harder, a war widow. One of the dead. I don't know, maybe there was more to it than that. I don't really know.
Interesting. Okay. I'll put widow in there. Okay, got one more here for Florence.
No. It was just me and her. Eve was the name they were going to call their first child. They talked about it, and I'm going to try when he came back. Florence's family had a history of firstborn girls, so they were convinced it was going to be a girl. It's hard to know if this is all true. These are stories I remember, that I read when I was a child. Maybe I misread, maybe I misunderstood. Sometimes it's hard to remember what happened last week.
Okay. Interesting. So I don't know if she's talking about Florence having a kid or the neighbors. That's pretty wild. Let's look up diary. I guess she mentioned that, and then I want to go kind of down a different line here. Got a couple of new ones.
No, he doesn't keep a diary. That's my thing. I've kept one, well, as long as I can remember, since I was a girl. It helps make sense of my day. And when you're forced to put something into words, it just gives you perspective. Everyone's on the same page.
Okay. Everyone's on the same page, she says. Okay. What does that mean?
When I was 8, Mother died. She slipped down the stairs. It was an accident. I had read a diary at that point and I knew she wasn't my real mother. So I burned the diary that day and I left. Walked out and across the street.
See, she burned the diary and then Mother died. But Hannah, or Eve, or whoever she is, said her parents died the same week that she had, or like right after she had the miscarriage. Interesting. Okay.
It just became our way of life. We would swap places and take it in turns to do things, and we were very careful. Whoever had been out that day would come back and write a detailed diary so that we were on the same page. We had a list of rules that said what we could and couldn't do in any given situation. It was exhaustive. We lived a second life through those rules. Rules for things that could only ever happen inside our imaginations. We would consider all the permutations of future events and agree rules to walk our way through them.
Okay. Well, that's pretty interesting. So I guess what we're led to believe then is that she went across and the two girls lived together, kind of as one person. So we do a couple things. We could do rules, I guess, there, I guess, coming from that one there. I'm gonna take a step back and go to, maybe I should just do drown. Because that came up kind of in the one thing right there. Yeah, you drowning. And it's also part of that song, so. Okay, so nothing there. So if there were really two, of these girls.
An affair? Simon wasn't having an affair.
Okay. Says he wasn't having an affair. Wait. Is that a tattoo? Does she always have that?
Here. Oh, I don't know why. No, I've never cheated on anyone. I've never taken anything from anyone. Simon is dead. But I have my baby to care for. Why are you trying to make me sad? Why are you so obsessed with sex and affairs? You cheated on your wife. Is this your thing?
Okay. Okay, so she mentioned that a couple of times. And also there's a tattoo here. And I don't think that's in the other ones. She's wearing long sleeves in a bunch of these, but like the ones that she's wearing short sleeves in, like you can't, like I think you would be able to see that right there, so.
What did your wife do? She didn't kill you. You think I killed Simon because he was having an affair? Well, I didn't kill him. I wasn't even there. I was in Glasgow worrying about whether my baby was still growing inside me. I mean, why would I kill Simon? I loved him.
Okay. Got a couple here on tattoo. Let's take a look at that.
No, he doesn't have any tattoos. He has a scar down here near his stomach, past his hip. Cut himself with some glass. That was before, a long time ago. He looks just like the photo. He's not got his glasses on here though. He takes them off with the camera. But he needs them to see properly, you know. He has to read a newspaper or a menu in a restaurant. Not book so much, or watching TV. He likes TV.
He likes TV, okay. See what kind of TV he's into.
Oh, my tattoo. I got it to express my individuality. It's an apple and a snake.
Apple and a snake, just like Eve. Okay, we'll come back to that potentially.
So I moved out. Got a small bed sit.
What's a bed
Got
sit?
my tattoo to mark the occasion. I was singing in a bar in the evenings, so I had some money, enough money to cover my rent. And I've been doing something similar ever since. I haven't put down any roots. I don't exist.
That's a weird thing to say. I don't exist. Okay. Got one more tattoo thread here.
He saw me singing one of my shows. Pure chance. Not sure I remember what he was even doing there. Afterwards, I had a drink at the bar and he came over and we got talking. I knew who he was. Obviously I knew who he was. But he didn't know who I was. He was fascinated by the likeness. He guessed my name from my tattoo. Told me it was a palindrome, like that would impress me. I enjoyed talking to him.
Palindrome.
It was amazing to be able to sit and interact and talk to him after all this time. He didn't tell me he was married. I'm not sure what he was thinking. He later told me it was like he was dreaming. A waking dream.
Okay. I'm gonna put that. All I know that is something that gets said in another one, because I used that clip in the podcast episode, and it's right here.
My name is Hannah. Hannah. It's palindrome. It reads the same backwards as forwards. It doesn't work if you mirror it though. It's not quite symmetrical, but well, you get the idea. Sorry. Hannah Smith. I live at 31 Gladstone Street.
Okay. Interesting. All right, so we've got these two potential ladies here that that on one hand sound very much like they're different people, and on the other hand it sounds very much like they're different people. Let's see, what have I searched for? Have I searched for... I haven't. Okay, let's take a look at Attic. That was something that came up, I think it was in the last episode, and see what else we can find. Okay, we got 5 brand new clips. Perfect.
Yes. I inherited it from my parents, so it made sense to move back. Me and Simon. Felt like going back to old ways before the pregnancy. Reminded me of being a girl, a dollhouse in the attic, old things. We didn't sleep in my parents' bedroom for a long time. We decorated it as soon as we moved in, but it was another year before we started sleeping there.
Okay. Interesting. Let's see what we got here.
Yes. I read a lot as a child and watched lots of TV. Then the doll's house we had, we still have in the attic. It's kind of a fairy castle. We used to play out there and make up our own stories.
Okay, so we've gotten a couple of mentions of Dollhouse here as well. And TV. So probably check out TV, maybe Dollhouse.
Could the hairs have come from somewhere else? I mean, could they... We have a lot of dolls in the attic. There's a Rapunzel doll with long blonde hair. Could they have come from there?
Blonde hair. Interesting. Okay.
She recognised me from the window. She told me to come inside, and she hid me. They had made the attic into a place where Hannah could play. There was a dollhouse. She hid me up there. No one else ever went into the attic. It was her place.
Okay. I'm starting to lean towards the fact that this is the same woman.
I'm not sure where the dollhouse came from. I don't know if it was given to them or they inherited it. I mean, they wouldn't have had the money to buy it. It was so huge. It must have been taken up to the attic in parts and then reassembled up there. It's a beautiful thing. Wallpaper to scale, little furniture, the lights work, mirrors, beds, big duvets and pillows. We spent hours and hours playing in it, invented all these characters and families who lived there. We wrote paperwork for them all, passports, diaries, and gave them all really elaborate stories. Once, a moth got trapped in there. We'd left a light on. It was making the most horrendous noise. We tried to kill it, but it was tough. We ended up crushing it under a copy of the Arabian Nights.
Interesting. I'm going to put moth on there just because that seemed creepy. Alright, so we've had a couple of things might need to look up. I'm gonna look up TV here real quick. Then we'll come back and hit Dollhouse. There's another TV one.
Mother wanted me to grow my hair long, but I kept cutting it myself. I wanted to look like my reflection. She always had short hair when she was little. Mother would hide the scissors, but I would find a way. Cut it with a bread knife, something like that.
Ow.
My reflection
That sounds horrible.
would always leave her house and go on adventures, but I never could. Mother taught me at home, and I had books and TV. Oh, TV was magical, but it was only on when it wanted to be, so I spent a lot of time reading books.
It was only on when it wanted to be. Okay. Interesting. Let me come back to books. What was the other thing I wanted to look up? Well, Dollhouse. Every time I hit enter, it doesn't do anything. Okay. We got one here.
The legal stuff was completed very quickly. Hannah moved back in with Simon. Eric gave Simon the week off to help with the move. He decorated, modernised wallpaper, curtains. Hannah insists the attic be left as it was, dollhouse and all. Simon never went up there.
Okay. She did say papers, right?
The legal stuff was completed very quickly.
Oh, no, she didn't. She just said legal, I guess. Oops. Let's do books and see where that takes us here before we make a turn. We've got 4 new ones here. 8 entries found, so...
Sorry. The picture, the way it's drawn, just reminded me of the books we used to read as children. I read those fairy tales over and over, and they were so real to me. Rapunzel was my favourite. My brain is just full of it. Are any of these in colour?
Okay, that's the second time I've heard the mention of Rapunzel. Once was in coordination with blonde hair, potentially that the police found, I guess. But
I hoover, I dust every week, maybe less. I once asked Eleanor how often I should dust, and she said,
Eleanor.
if people ask, tell them you do it once a week, but every few weeks is okay. I think she was just trying to make me feel better. I mean, when I was there, she was hoovering every day, ran an ordered house. You know how that generation is, putting on a brave front. She has secret stashes of cigarettes. Doug doesn't even know she smokes.
Ooh.
When I was there, I saw her.
Eleanor.
She has these
Doug
sort of porcelain vases, ornamental, next to the Reader's Digest books. Cigarettes inside. And she still has them. I mean, last time I was there, I looked in a vase.
Cigarettes. Okay.
There was a fresh pack. I mean, all those years of marriage, and she still has a secret like that.
Okay. Got some new people to look up. Interesting. Okay.
And the Glaziers. I worked there some weekends, and Simon had a part-time job there too. That was Eric's generosity. He was always good at helping out other people's children. Simon was quiet, more thoughtful than the other boys. Even then, he had a sense of craftsmanship. Wasn't always rushing stuff. Boys that age are just running around like headless chickens most of the time. You know? Plus, he had that look. He looked like a fairy tale prince from one of my books.
Interesting. Okay. So there's been a lot of talk about Rapunzel, who's stuck in the attic. Right? Now she's making mention of Simon as a prince, so that's interesting.
Yes. The first time we saw each other, it was strange. We both realised at the same moment, I think. We must have seen each other before, but there was this instant when we first realised it wasn't a reflection. The reflection was staring back. I think I was 5. It was my birthday. My reflection was wearing a party hat and waving. I knew what party hats were from books. And it suddenly occurred to me, today must be my birthday. I waved back and we just spent ages waving at each other and copying each other's movements.
Interesting. Okay. So there was a lot that I picked up there. Good job, books. You really nailed it. We got Rapunzel, we got Eleanor, Doug, Smoke, Cigarettes, Prince, and Birthday there from that line of questioning. So I think that is where I'm going to go ahead and end this one for right now. I feel like we made some pretty good headway here. I picked up a lot of clues. I'm still trying to wrap my head around whether or not I think that Hannah and Eve are the same person or if they're different people. I'm leaning towards the same person, but we're going to get into all that here hopefully in the next one and start to make a little bit more progress unraveling this mystery. So with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and sign off here for this one. Tune in for the next episode and we'll learn some more about her story. So thank you so much for joining me. Check out the podcast episode about her story if you want to learn more about how the game came together, came into being, and learn how to make an espresso or a Guinness espresso martini. That was a really good cocktail. Check that out. Like, subscribe, check out drinkthemovies.com for more information, and yeah, bye for now. Cheers. We'll see you in the next one.